And today's music industry is not the same as it used to be. Yes, there's still signed artists, and they used to hold the key to fame and success. But more and more artists are proving that they can be independent. Artists, wait, independent artists have freedom, control, and better connections with fans. Now, I'll be sharing that with you with these 3 artists that are independent who I listen to personally. First being Hoodie Allen, the second being Bryce Vine, and the third being Mike. They have all done that without a backing of a label. And that is pretty big, and we'll find out why in this speech. First, we're going to start out with Hoodie Allen. We're going to talk about the morals, the social and emotional side of being an independent artist, and the financial side. And that's a big deal. Those are all big parts of being an independent artist. Now, we're going to start with morals. Hoodie Allen is a big example of this. And the reason why is because in the 2010s, he released the album All American, and it was one of the biggest independent artist releases. It charted number 1 on iTunes when it first debuted, and was on the Billboard 200 and debuted at number 10. That has never happened before, that big and that quick. Now, you might ask yourself, why is this so important to this conversation? Well, after All American dropped, all the record labels wanted him. Hold on. People like RCA and Def Jam wanted him so bad, but he turned them down. He said that in an interview with, why do I fold this? Going backwards, I think it's called. And then he released the album called People Keep on Talking. And that basically gave the story of him being an independent artist. And in those songs, he mentions stuff about turning down labels. And he made it pretty clear over multiple interviews and in his songs that he will never sign to an artist, because it's very important to his morals that he has the freedom and he can write what he wants and what he wants to say. Now, let's talk about the social and emotional side. We're going to talk about Bryce Vine. I saw him twice already, and it was once when he was a signed artist, and that's very important too, why I feel like he's a good example too, because during his most popular songs like Drew Barrymore, you might know him as by, or La La Land, he gained very popularity due to the record label. But before that, he released an album called Lazy Fair. And songs like that, songs called Sour Patch Kids, which is also a very big known song, and The Wild Things, Where the Wild Things Are, is a big song. And you might ask yourself, why is this such a social and emotional side? Well, Sour Patch Kids is about feeling nostalgic because he wants to miss being a kid. It's about the overwhelming of adulthood. Then you might ask yourself, what does The Wild Things have to do with anything with emotional? Well, he wrote that song about feeling an outsider because most of his life he was an outsider, and he feels like most of his fans are too. Now, let's get to the financial side. This is Mike. He used to be known as Mike Stud. I know it's a bit of a corny name, but he's now known as just Mike. He has grown his business perfectly. He used to be a baseball player, for context. That's why he used to be called Mike Stud. And now he has a brand called Stevenson Ranch. And you might wonder, what is a baseball player doing with a thing called Stevenson Ranch? Well, he made that for his clothing brand, and he also performs live. You can see him wearing a Pittsburgh shirt, and we'll get to that, why that's so important. And that, his music, his brand, he gets 100% of the profits. Of course, he switched with management and everyone you can probably think of that he works on his team with, because they can't do it all by themselves. Well, this is, wait, hold on, let me go back. During his tour last year and this year, he releases exclusive merch to each city he drops. Now, these are my top 3, and it was New York, Pittsburgh, one of my favorites, and then Chicago. And I feel like that's very important to your brand because it makes you feel more at home if you're going to go see it in your city. Like, he's coming to Council Bluffs soon, and I personally cannot wait for the Iowa merch because I hope he drops some Iowa State merch because I'm an Iowa State fan, but who knows. And I just cannot wait for the Iowa exclusive merch. And I feel like this is so important because it grows your brand and it puts you out there more. And people who are popular, I should have put a picture of him, but Aaron Rodgers is a big Mike fan. And in an interview, he had a Mike hat on. And I've seen Travis Kelce has had one on, and it's like super big. Now, anyone can counter what I just said. Totally reasonable. Now, Taylor Swift is a big example of this. She writes her own songs. She has met fans, but they're not personal. And I think that's what independent artists have above the signed artists. And of course, we know she's rich. She's one of the most successful female artists out there. Now, I know you know the basics of the financial side, but let's get into it. Every record label takes a % of what the artist owns. Yes, they can negotiate once they're bigger, but they always take a part of their music, their merch, and their touring. And that can make their profits go down. Even though that Taylor Swift is rich, you know she wasn't once before. Now, let's go over what we talked about. We talked about Hoodie Allen's morals, Bryce Vine's social and emotional, and why Mike is such a successful businessman. Now, to end this all, I feel like independent artists have it way bigger and way better than the signed artists, and I feel like people should support them more. That was not good.